most surprising states to turn blue or vote Democratic in the 2020 presidential election is Georgia. Georgia has long been known as a red or Republican state. So how did this traditionally red state flip to blue? Well, meet Democratic politician Stacey Abrams. After Abrams lost her campaign for governor of Georgia in 2018, she has been working with grassroots organizations, registering new voters, especially people of color. Her organization, the New Georgia Project, has been combating voter suppression and registered over 500,000 voters since 2014. Many of these new registered voters being Black Democrats. Although Joe Biden and Democrats won the presidential election in Georgia, the Senate election is still very much alive, and there are 10 states that require congressional candidates to get more than 50% of the vote to win. And Georgia is one of them. Because of the law, runoff elections will be held in January for not one, but 2 Georgia Senate races. Let's take a look. First up, we have Republican Senator David Perdue, who is up for re-election against Democrat Jon Ossoff. In the November election, Perdue outscored Ossoff with 49.7% of the vote, just shy of 50% he needed. In the other Georgia Senate runoff, we have Democrat and Pastor Raphael Warnock versus the recently appointed Republican Senator Kelly Loeffler. Warnock had the edge with 32.9% of the vote to Loeffler's 25.9%. In January, they will battle it out to 50% of the votes in the runoff election. These runoff elections are expected to receive high financial backing from both Republicans and Democrats, and you better believe that Stacey Abrams will be back battling for Democratic candidates. As Stacey Abrams recently said, we will have the investment and resources that never followed a runoff in Georgia for Democrats.
I get why the Senate runoffs are happening. They need 50% of the vote, so the math makes sense. But why is so much money being poured into these elections in Georgia?
Oh, believe it or not, these Senate races are a huge deal, not just for Georgia, but for the entire country. Let's head to Giovanna to learn more in this week's edition of NexGen Politics.
Hey NexGen News, Giovanna here for some NexGen Politics. Wouldn't it be nice if politicians just voted for what they believed in or what's best for the country? Well, in the United States, that's not really how it works, and we have the two-party system to thank for that. The two major political parties in the U.S. are the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. Nearly all elected politicians in the U.S. belong to one of these two parties. In general, the Republican Party is more conservative and values less government involvement in the lives of citizens, as well as keeping taxes low. The Democratic Party, on the other hand, is more liberal and values more government initiatives to help its citizens. Nowadays, compromise is hard to come by, and the party lines are more divided than ever as the Democrats and Republicans battle for control over the 3 branches of government. The presidency or executive branch, the Supreme Court or judicial branch, and the Congress or legislative branch, which is made up of the Senate and the House of Representatives. These 3 branches of government have checks and balances, meaning one branch does not have complete power and they rely on each other to pass and uphold laws. For example, a law proposed by the president or executive branch must be voted on and approved by both the House of Representatives and the Senate or the legislative branch. Because these 3 branches of government have checks and balances, political parties would ideally want to control all 3. But let's now take a look at the current political landscape and which political party controls which branch of government. For the executive branch, President-elect Joe Biden is a Democrat and will be replacing Republican President Donald Trump. The judicial branch is majority conservative, with 6 of the 9 Supreme Court justices having been appointed by Republican presidents. For the legislative branch, the House of Representatives has Democratic majority, and that leaves the Senate. The Georgia runoff elections in January will determine if the Senate gets controlled by the Republicans or the Democrats. If the Republicans keep their majority, Democrat President Joe Biden will be in a standoff with the Republican-controlled Senate. This means that he would likely have trouble passing bills such as his clean energy plan, because the Republicans will be able to block Democratic legislature. If the Democrats win the runoff election for Senate, they will take the majority of the entire legislative branch, and President Biden will receive more support in passing laws because the Democrats will control both the executive and legislative branch of government. For now, we'll have to wait and see what happens in the Georgia Senate runoff elections. Only time will tell if the Republicans and Democrats will continue to be at odds with each other or if they can find some common ground for the good of the country.